thinking about skipping an employee handbook. An employee handbook isn't in and of itself a legal document. It's not a contract. It's not anything that, gets stamped by a judge at the end of the day. But it is a document that has huge legal implications for your business. One of the first things that I love about employee handbooks for businesses, especially for smaller businesses and businesses that are learning to scale and just improving their overall operation as a big company rather than just a startup that's kind of taking things day by day, is that if you've gotten a formal employee handbook prepared either by a labor lawyer like myself or a really experienced HR professional, that employee handbook is written with a lot of legal guidance in mind. So when you take a policy that says, for example, for clocking in and clocking out time, often those types of policies will say something like, if your manager asks you to work off the clock, or if you're asked to clock out when you still need to be completing your work, that you should immediately report that to a supervisor. That's not just as a general best practice, but that's actually a source of legal liability right then and there. And the benefit that you get from having that employee handbook and by not having skipped on it is that you've gotten that legal advice right there in your handbook, so that you, as a business owner or an HR professional, whoever you may be in the company, when you're presented with an issue and you don't quite know what to do about it, or it's the first time you've seen about it and you've never actually handled it, just go to your employee handbook. And it probably gives you a really good starting point to work from. And it's kind of your playbook on how to actually handle that scenario, right? Because even though it may be new to you, that employee handbook might have been prepared by somebody like me who's been there, done that, and who knows the legal implications behind it. And when that handbook says this is what you need to do or who to report to or what not to do or what not to do, you know that there's actually some legal compliance built into that, even though you may not recognize it at first. And so that's, to me, that's the biggest value of an employee handbook. It is your personal playbook for knowing what to do when a situation arises at work. Because the reality is there's a lot of things in an employee handbook that just don't come up in everyday work life. But every once in a while, that really weird thing kind of comes up and you have no idea how to handle it. But boy, would you be glad to know that you've got something in your handbook that you can actually refer to and talk to about, even if it's just to buy yourself time for a little bit as you figure out the broader picture or whatnot. If a lawyer hasn't prepared it, hopefully somebody copied and pasted that language off of somewhere reputable on the internet. And that's not always the best approach, but sometimes good news spreads kind of idea, and people are copying and pasting actually good material. So even if you don't recognize it, could be good for you.